touchdown, time to get changed this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the hand dog. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, really time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast, man. So today we have a very special guest. We got my boy Darius Dalton in here, and we're gonna talk a little bit about this training camp, talk a little birds. But what's good, Darius? How you been, man?
Man, birds are back. That's all. That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing in our lives right now, bro. The birds are back, so we're definitely tuned back in. We're all eyes at NovaCare right now, seeing how this team was going to go ahead and become of this 2021 season. But overall, though, we're all excited. We're all here making it happen. That's why we're on here talking about it every single damn day. You know what I mean?
Facts. Yeah, like we were saying off air, man. Now we're normal people again. You know, birds are back, football's back. We feel normal again. So let's hop right into it, man. The big news, I guess we can call it big news. We had Lane Johnson and Derek Barnett both restructure yesterday. I know a lot of people are making up their own stories as far as what that might mean. But what do you think about it? You know, Derek Barnett, obviously a guy that's in a kind of a position battle with Josh Sweat, and then Lane Johnson, just a overall vet who I think we said we didn't need to restructure, but here we are. But what are your thoughts about these restructures?
So, I mean, the first thing that's going to come into mind is like, okay, well, is there going to be anything brewing in regards to the wide receiver situation just because of the Devontae Smith news about him being out a couple weeks with this knee sprain? And, will that be a time for this team to now start looking around the league to see if they should just maneuver and try to pick up a wide receiver who knows, maybe contract is going to be coming up soon next year and something like that, so that they're going to be willing to pay. Like it's stuff like that that's going to be popping up. Or is there going to be a contract extension? Someone like a Jordan Mailata who's absolutely killing it in training camp, and eventually, if he's going to become that anchor, if he's going to become that blindside left tackle, and we know how valuable that position is. Obviously, we've been blessed with a lot of years of Jason Peters, almost too many years though with Jason Peters. I'm gonna say that, yeah. But you know what I mean. And then you talking about the John Runnings, the Trey Thomas, Lane Johnsons. We've been really blessed with these tackles, and the fact that we have someone like a Jordan Mailata emerging, it's coming to the point where, well, if he established himself this year, is he gonna get a payday? Miles Sanders is stepping into a pivotal year in his career where, next year is where obviously, after 3 years for running backs, that's when it starts getting trickier with them. Do we commit to a running back? Are we going to go ahead and extend this running back? Or, are we going to let him fall out to free agency, stuff like that? So it could go both ways. It really could go both ways. I do think that this team will probably seek within the organization to see who actually does deserve that payday. Maybe Zach Ertz. Maybe they finally are going to go ahead and give Zach Ertz the money that he wants to end his career here in Philadelphia, which I believe that Zach Ertz really does deserve to end his career as a Philadelphia Eagle. He's the best tight end we've ever had in Eagles history, and I'm all for sending him off like how we sent Brent Selleck off, which is retired Philadelphia Eagle.
Definitely. Yeah, I love Zach Ertz, and I'm glad that you brought up Brent Selleck, because we had a show yesterday, Monday. I'm terrible with my days. They all seem to blend together, but I had a show yesterday with Brunson, 500 and RB, and we were talking about Zach Ertz, and shout out to all of them. But, we were talking about Zach Ertz, and Brent Selleck is the name that continuously came up, because it comes down to the point with me, at least, that if, Zach Ertz is going to be here long term, he has to at some point take on that role that Brent Selleck did for him. So I think he can. I think he still has maybe a year or two of very high level play, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, but I definitely would not be mad if he's still on this team mentally. If he's still here mentally and wants to be here, I think that there's no negative to having a Zach Ertz on your team. Now, the other thing that you brought up was the wide receivers. The wide receivers doing pretty well in camp. Obviously, the Devontae Smith injuries got people a little bit worried, but outside of that, a little bit frustrated. Eagles Twitter was blowing up a little bit, but other than that, they've been playing well. Quez Watkins obviously coming back, doing pretty well. Travis Fulgham, the list goes on. our offensive coordinator, like I like that shirt. The offensive coordinator is even said, who came from Indianapolis, that they didn't even have speed like that. So are you excited about this wide receiving core? I think that a lot of people are sleeping on what we have, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So last year, half of our receiving core were a bunch of rookies: Jalen Rager,
Yeah,
Quez Watkins, John Hightower. So you knew that they needed to get their feet wet in regards to stepping into the NFL. You have a moment where Travis Fulgham was an absolute stud during the midseason of last year, and unfortunately got sidelined due to you have some old veterans that you have to play because you're paying them with the Alshon Jeffries and the Deshaun Jackson. So obviously those guys, you're not going to sit $14 million on the sideline while you're paying $600,000 to Travis Fulgham. It's just That's just the nature of the business at this point in time. So you kind of want to see if you're still able to get that spark right there with Travis Fulgham. Greg Ward is always a reliable receiver. I'm never really worried about Greg Ward. I don't think that he's going to be anything bigger than what he is, but I don't think he's going to be anything less of what he is as well. I think he's going to be a very good, consistent receiver who does the fundamentals right, and is going to be one of those reliable receivers that Jalen Hurts, which he actually liked going to. Half of Greg Ward's touchdowns, he did lead. Yeah, Greg Ward did lead the team in receiving touchdowns last year, I believe. And half of those touchdowns were thrown by Jalen Hurts. So there's obviously that connection that Jalen Hurts has with Greg Ward. And it's really exciting to see. I'm honestly not – I know we were just talking about, is this money going to be clearing up to trade for a wide receiver? I would prefer to not necessarily do that just yet. I might be in the minority here when I say that I would like to see what these young guys really have to offer in year two, stepping up into a bigger role for themselves and not necessarily being sidelined because older veterans that have to be out there on the football field, they have to be out there on the football field, which is causing these younger guys to be on the sideline. And they're able to now go out there without not worrying about being on the bench and showcasing themselves to see if they could really make a name for themselves here in Philadelphia and become an established wide receiver. So I'm very excited. They do have a lot of speed, a lot of legs underneath them. They're bringing in a great wide receiver mind coach like Nick Sirianni, who's going to definitely utilize those legs and the speeds that they have. And I think that he's going to get the full utilization out of all these guys.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think, he said it time and time again, and he's starting to prove it. Competition is the most important thing. I would not mind if we had honestly, I would. I'm kind of on the same exact path. Let's see what these guys have. There's nobody out there that I'm sitting here like, oh, if we have him, it's a wrap. So like, unless they're going to make us from a playoff team to a Super Bowl team, I don't see the reason for going out there and giving up assets. So I'm with you there. Yeah. And like I said, competition is what I think will make all these wide receivers better, right? So, and we've seen that this whole offseason. So I wanted to ask you, how important do you think this competition aspect that this coaching staff has brought in, how important do you think that is for this team? Obviously a very young team. Do you think that plays into it?
It's probably the best motivation at this point in time. We win the Super Bowl, a lot of guys became lax. You know what I mean? There was not necessarily that sense of urgency until we started struggling mid-season, and then we had to really catch fire at the end before we were almost missing the playoffs back in 2018 and 2019. We really had to start waking up towards the end of the season. A lot of guys were really lax all throughout the year, including the coaches, and it could really hold back to what you're really trying to do out there on the football field. So you're bringing in a lot of hungry guys who haven't won the Super Bowl, who haven't captured that moment, who's hungry for that moment, and they're all obviously trying to get paid and earn that contract. So yeah, their head's going to be on a swivel, and they're going to be more urgent, more willing to listen, more willing to buy into the scheme, more willing to buy into the system and the culture that Sirianni is bringing out here in Philadelphia. So it's definitely key for these guys to go out there and continue to work hard every day and look over their shoulders, because the next guy, it's pretty much this. Outside of Devontae Smith, your Jalen Rager still going to be out there. He's still going to be a starting wide receiver. And then Greg Ward, it's just like, it's now up in the air for everybody else, which I like. Yeah, good. It should be up in the air for everybody else. Therefore, let's all elevate each other's games, and whoever, may the best man win at this point in time. And so, we do need that competition in training camp. We do need these wide receivers to definitely feel more motivated and getting that sense of, well, if I'm able to perform, I'm going to be out there playing. Unlike Where last year, well, even if I'm able to perform, I know it's going to be Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward. You know what I mean? There's all those guys that's in front of them that's not necessarily going to inspire you in a way to really get out there on the football field and perform. And especially after seeing someone like Travis Fulgham going off, and then, well, Alshon Jeffrey's back, so let's go back to the sideline. It's just like, where's that motivation? You know, we had a bad problem doing that with the coaching staff this past regime. You know, the commitment to Jason Peters, where we took out Jordan Mailata when Jordan Mailata was killing it. I go back to 2019, where, because I think that this was a pivotal moment in Andre Dillard's young career, where this is our first round pick. Jason Peters gets hurt. What else is new? Andre Dillard is filling in at the position that he was drafted for at left tackle. He's stepping up. He's actually getting better each game. And then, bam, Jason Peters is back. And so we benched Andre Dillard only for when Lane Johnson gets hurt. So we put Andre Dillard in a position that he was not
and just make him look
playing.
Silly.
And, you know, Patriots they swallowed him up, and we never saw Andre Dillard again. And since then, confidence been shot, got injured. Right now, not necessarily having a good training camp. That moment right there could mentally mess up a young cat like him. You have a position, he's your first round pick. He's establishing himself. He's getting better. Stick with it, because he's a future. Jason Peters, he's only has a number of snaps left in him at this point in time. So I'm glad that they're all now getting that opportunity to be able to get a chance to play without not necessarily worrying about, well, this guy's just going to go ahead and come in and play whenever he's healthy.
Yeah. And people were talking about Travis Fulgham last year, and you know, we had Brandon Godwin on here, and he was saying that there was a rumor going throughout media that he was just lazy, that he was like mentally not there for most of it. But if you bench me for someone who's clearly worse than me when I'm out there balling, about to, you know, be the first 1,000-yard receiver that you've had in how many years, and you bench that, doesn't make much sense. I would probably get a little bit lazy as well, to be honest. You know,
I mean, why not? Like, bro, I'm going off, and this still wasn't good enough. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. Like, what do you really want? So, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of these guys have to rebuild their confidence, if I'm being honest. But you brought up the left tackle spot. Obviously, like you said, we went from Trey Thomas to Jason Peters. We can even probably go before that. We've had good offensive lines, and now we have a new battle. Andre Dillard, I was going to say Dallard, Andre Dillard and Jordan Mailata. How do you see that battle going? And do you have a favorite? You know, do you have a horse in that race?
Is Jordan Mailata by landslide. You know, I'm just seeing first day in pads, and he just put Brandon Graham on his ass. Brandon Graham, for crying out loud, who is still a prolific defensive end in this NFL. And Jordan Mailata just really emerged himself to be that anchor for us at that offensive line last year as the season was progressing. So, it's Jordan Mailata by landslide. I mean, obviously, you wish you can get that first round. You can get that first round value from Andre Dillard, but unfortunately, this is the nature of the game. The game doesn't wait for you. Okay, the game is always going to be moving forward without you. So it is unfortunate where Andre Dillard, who had to miss all of last year when he was given a chance to start, see someone else shine in his position to the point where now he has to fight for that position, and he might just, at this point in time, just be a backup for us. Which, at the end of the day, I'm all for having a very talented backup offensive line, because that's just pretty much how we won the Super Bowl, where we had Vaitai, Big V, coming in for Jason Peters, a rookie, and he played like a stud for the remainder of the season, to the point where we really weren't missing Jason Peters during that 2017 season. And so you hear, you know, Andre Dillard, the Landon Dickersons, the Nate Herbigs, Jack Driscoll. So at the end of the day, you know, sure, you wish you could go ahead and see a first round pick be out there starting, but at the end of the day, it's just like, well, at least we know that we still have some quality depth at this offensive line, which is going to be key for this offense, in my opinion, the Jalen Hurts progression and this running game. So it's Jordan Mailata by landslide. How about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely with Mailata. I just because of his story. Like, I'll be honest, if I'm looking at it from a football perspective, I think we would be better off as a team if Andre Dillard won that position. And the reason why I say that is because I could see Jordan Mailata filling in that big V role way more than I could see Andre Dillard. You know, like you said, we saw him on the right side. Wasn't, you know, something that he felt comfortable with. I think that's being nice about it. But, you know, it wasn't somewhere he felt comfortable yet. So I don't feel comfortable saying that he would be our swing guy. We also have that LaRaven Clark kid. I think that if Jordan Mailata wins that battle, Dillard is probably going to get traded or something's going to happen there. But if Dillard wins that, I think that we're very, very well off having somebody like Jordan Mailata as our swing guy. So, because I think he can play all 5 positions, if I'm being honest, outside of center. So I'll say 4, but I think he can play all 4 spots. So I just think he brings us more versatility, but I love Jordan Mailata, and I would not be mad if he, got that starting role at all. The dude's a freak.
And I noticed when you mentioned about trading Dillard if needed or if necessary, because my thing is this: you want to try to get some value out of this first round pick. You don't want Dillard to just be here for several years to be just back to just be on the sideline. Then we either cut him or he gets free agency. You still need to go ahead and see. Okay, well, we obviously have an absolute stud in Jordan Mailata. Andre Dillard, Lane Johnson's still here. There's pretty much no room for him at this point in time. How can we play this first round pick card? Can we still manipulate that for the trade market to see, well, maybe we can go ahead and get, something of value in return, maybe like a 4th round pick or something for, a left tackle position, which is always the most it's one of the biggest positions out there in football is that left tackle, because you're literally the blind side of the quarterback. And so it's going to come to a point in time where, I won't be surprised if that were to happen, even this training camp, knowing damn well, hey, look, Mailata is out there and he's going to be the guy, and it's going to be the 3rd year in a row where Andre Dillard is just going to be on the sideline. What are we going to have to do with this? Should we get some type of compensation back for this first round pick? Otherwise, this first round pick is just a wash. It's just an absolute wash, which we never want to hear, because we've been struggling with our first round picks for the last couple of years. So at least let's get something out of these guys.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, how do people see him? There might be a world where he came, because if you listen to how he talked in the beginning of the offseason, it sounded like he was way more confident. It didn't sound like the Andre Dillard that was crying at camp. He hasn't cried all camp. Like that's a major accomplishment. I love that. But he is getting beat. He's not, I don't know. It's rough. I really do hope that he has some type of value, but his value might be just being a backup. If he could learn the right side, like, this team would be so amazing, because right now I would put Jack Driscoll over him on the right side. And I think that just talent-wise, just like skill set-wise, Andre Dillard's probably better, right? It's just Jack Driscoll has shown us that he can play that side. He can play it and be. So it is what it is. It's a good problem to have, I guess. We got a whole bunch of offensive linemen we got to figure out. But to go off of the offensive line, the people that are probably going to reap the most benefits from having a good offensive line is these 20 running backs that we have. Now, obviously the top is looking good, but you even had people like Jason Huntley showing out. You've had people, Boston Scott, who a lot of people are kind of putting on the outside looking in. He's been showing out. How do you think that this running back is going to shake up? Like, do you like this running back room? How do you think it's going to shake up?
I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I'm the fact that you're hearing even more about Jordan Howard having a good camp, that actually adds more to it. I think the variety of running backs is giving me very 2017-esque kind of vibes, where you have a standout offensive line that's ready to go ahead and put their knuckles in the dirt and just pound that line of scrimmage. And then you have a plethora of running backs that you're just going to be throwing at them, like how we had with the LeGarrette Blunts, with the Jay Jais, with the Corey Clements, So it was very, so it's giving me that kind of reminiscence where, okay, cool, we got the Miles Sanders, the Kerryon Johnsons now, the Jordan Howards, and then you're seeing how our rookie, who has Gainwell doing, Jason Huntley, he is progressing, Boston Scott. So it's becoming almost too much at this point in time. But for me, it is the more the merrier. And obviously, if you're to ask me how many running backs we should keep, 3, maybe 4, if we still see Boston Scott as, even though I don't necessarily want him back out there kick returning, because he really gave us nothing in the kick return aspect of it. But if you're going to utilize Boston Scott, I think if you do keep 4 running backs, it would be for Boston Scott, just because he's really like a gadget kind of back, like the Darren Sproles, little mini version of a Darren Sproles that we've seen throughout the years in Philadelphia as well. So that would be my case if we keep 4 running backs. And obviously the other 3 would be, that would be tough, because you're talking about our 4th round pick, Kenneth Gainwell as well. And they're just like, oh man, it's just like, all right, well, where does he slide in? Because I'm thinking Miles Sanders, I'm thinking Jordan Howard, I'm thinking Kerryon Johnson, and I'm thinking Boston Scott. And I'm like, well, is Gainwell going to be a practice squad running back? If he has to be, then he has to be. But that would be my preference at this point in time. I do think that Miles Sanders, obviously entering his third year, he has a lot of legs underneath him for this point in time, and I do think that we're going to get the most out of him, just because the way how this game works is the way how we treat these running backs, where we know whenever their contract year is coming up, we're going to try to see, get the most out of them before we have to come to a decision, where do we have to pay these guys? And then if that's the case, do you have to, are we going to pay a running back while we have someone like a Kenneth Gainwell that's progressing? So that would be probably my case where, and I know we all love Miles Sanders, and as much as we wish that he could be an Eagle for life, I see the running back market as a savage market, really. And again, my ideal list would be 4 running backs: Sanders, Johnson, Howard, Boston Scott, Gainwell on the practice squad. Honestly, run Miles Sanders to the ground this upcoming season. He needs to get a lot of touches. He needs to get a lot of touches, just so obviously we can get the most out of him, because I feel like that's going to equal to a lot of success for the Philadelphia Eagles and help the progression of Jalen Hurts. And then, as next year, and we discussed contract talks with Miles Sanders, we could now start looking at Gainwell to see how's his progression, to see now, is he going to be the new fresh set of young legs that we're going to be having with the city of Philadelphia within the next few years now. So I created this cycle in my head. That's where I want to go with it. How about you?
No, I love our running back room, to be honest. And like you said, that you said it perfectly. The more the merrier, man. Bring them all on. And I agree. I love Boobie. I'm a huge Penn State fan, you know what I'm saying? So I love Miles Sanders. Always have, always will. But you're 100% right. Like, give him 250 carries, give him 300 carries, like run him into the dirt, see if he can be that guy, because that's probably the biggest question that we have as not only fans, but the front office should have that question too, is if we do give this guy 20 carries a game, what are we going to get out of him? So we have to get that answer, especially with a contract year coming up. And even if you don't want to sign him, even if you say, oh, he went crazy for us this year, but we used him to the dirt, we got these other guys, like you said, we'll bring in some fresh legs. So I'm with that. I'm with that all 100%. I love Boobie, but listen, man, I love the Eagles way more, and I want to win. So, but last question I want to ask you, man, is pertaining to the money. We talked about it earlier. Obviously, they freed up some money with this restructuring. As a fan, I'm not asking you, what do you think they will do? But if you had that money, if you were the Eagles and you had that 14 mil, is there a position that you would want to shore up, free agency, trade-wise, anything like that?
Yeah, so personally, I would lock up Ertz. That's what I want to do. Now, if I were to think outside the Philadelphia Eagles, I would probably still look at the defensive side. I really would. I probably would look at the linebackers. I believe was KJ Wright still available? You know what I mean? I think you got some quality linebackers that's still out there. Correct me if I'm wrong here, people in the chat that is listening. But there's some that's still a unit where, okay, I like Eric Wilson for sure, and Alex Singleton, okay, cool, but still want to get someone there that's going to really lock up that that middle aspect of the defensive side. And for me, I think that how I see this team going, it's going to be a run-based team. We're going to dominate the line of scrimmage. We have an outstanding defensive line, an outstanding offensive line. You have a plethora of running backs that can go ahead and attack the ball, attack the ball, attack the rock, attack the defense, and you're able to control the clock. Keep a defense off the field, and we'll have a fresh legs when this defense steps on the field due to the amount of ball control that our offense would possess. And I would like to have a standout defensive unit. It's almost like reminiscent on I'm not going to compare hand to hand, no, but obviously I see it as like a 2013 Seattle Seahawks where you have a second-year pro in Russell Wilson, where Jalen Hurts, he's going to be a second year. You want to make it easy for him. You want to make it. You want to make it easy for Jalen Hurts. Don't put him in the position where you put him last year. Even though I'm confident that, yeah, he can still step up to the plate, you still want to make it easy for his transition to become an established starting quarterback. So be like Seattle Seahawks in 2013. Rely on a heavy rushing attack. Rely on dominating the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. You know, you're stacking up that secondary now with the Steven Nelsons, Darius Slay, Anthony Harris, McLeod, Kayvon Wallace. So you're building that defensive side. So I think I would add more money to that defense to lock it up, to really solidify it. And honestly, at the end of the day, it will make the game easier for Jalen Hurts. I have a reliable defense. I have a reliable running game, reliable line of scrimmage, and it will start coming to him on a platter.
Facts. Yeah, if I had to spend the money, I'm 100% with you. I'm getting a linebacker. Like I've said it from off since the end of the season. Since the end of the season, I was like, we need a damn linebacker. But so I 110% agree with you. But to me, honestly, save the money. Let's see what we got. If there's somebody, you know, around trade deadline period that you really want to go get, or, you know, somebody that's still a free agency come start of the season that you can get cheap, go ahead. But save the money. Let's see what we have. I like the players we have. Hopefully they can do something and prove us right, because I think we're all a little bit optimistic about this team, you know what I'm saying? So, and bring that swag, man. Like we were saying off air, man, we finally got a little bit of swag back, and it feels really good. It feels good saying I'm an Eagles fan.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm excited. I'm going to say this about saving the money as well, because there's going to be a lot of money clearing up next year as well. You're talking about the Carson Wentz situation and how we don't have to go ahead and take that cap hit anymore. A lot of money is going to be clearing up for this roster. And I'm going to tell you, if 2021 is a season where you see a lot of promise, where you know maybe this team is just here and there away from actually making another Super Bowl run, then bam, we have the money. We still have the draft picks to now just add on to this team. So I do think that this rebuilding process is going to be faster than what people expect it to be. I do think that this team is going to really compete for the division, because there's really no stand out in this division as it is. So I do think that that's already going to be a huge confidence boost for this organization, knowing that we can still compete in this division, motivate all the young guys to go after it next year. We get more money now coming back, obviously the money that we have now, and then the money that we're going to be getting in 2022 off season. So then bam, we can go ahead and now go after someone that is going to be an obvious help for this organization and help us be in that position next year. So that's where I'm at, bro. I'm very, very excited, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But Darius, I appreciate you. I know you're a very busy man. We've been very busy. We've been trying to do this for a while. So I'm glad we were able to find some time, man. But when the season comes, we'll definitely get back together. We still got a lot to talk about. So, but I appreciate you so much coming on. Everybody that watched, I appreciate you as well. Be sure to go subscribe to my man if you have not already. Tomorrow I will be back with all the training camp live. So we'll get to that. Got a couple videos dropping tonight. But other than that, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace.